pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody for public discussion? Guess not.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda in minutes.
I can second. I think.
You can.
Any discussion on the agenda or the minutes? The minutes would have been from 4/7. All in favor of approving the agenda and minutes from 4/7, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay. You guys are timely.
Good try.
Anything on your mind this morning?
Oh, I'll just go ahead and start. Rain, kind of Sway City to Burt, kind of Highway 9 to B14, is that what's running across there? Kind of, that stretch got ½ inch to 1.5 inches, 3/4 kind of, so, got rain there, but the rest of the county didn't get too much anyway. Gravel roads are in pretty decent shape, where I know there's places where they're maintaining today. If they're not maintaining, we're hauling some rock or hauling some gravel and different things like that, so.
There's a few soft spots out there, but it's typical this time of year, so.
Starting to come around,
Yeah.
all the gravel roads are. I know Scott and Brian are working on quite a bit of drainage stuff in road right away right now. Whether it's tile intakes that have failed that we're repairing, or we're discovering some other situations. One of them has to do with the county farm out to the southwest of Algona here. Right south of the old county home, there is water that is coming out of a private tile about 1,000 feet east of the Boat Hobart and Blacktop. And that water is running over the ground, down to the road ditch, through a cross pipe, and then it goes across over to the, whatever, is that 4 Mile Creek?
Yeah.
It runs down there. We're out there in the road right now. There's an intake on the west side of the ditch, the west side of the road and the west road ditch. That needs repair. It's something from the surface is not right, and after we get that repaired and opened up, we're gonna run our tile locator under the road going east to see if there is a problem in the road right away. As we find out more information, I'll work with Tammy as far as letting her know what's going on as far as drainage for that county farm, and we'll move on from there. But that be,
Yeah, no, that's,
today we should be out there.
once the fog lifts, so we
Yeah.
can work safely along the road without.
We'll be out there trying to figure out a few things.
Yep.
Do we fix it if there's a problem out of the roadway on the county farm, or who does that?
We'll talk with Tammy and we'll make sure that it gets repaired, Howard.
Okay. I'll interpret that, that's fine. Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
The rain wasn't destructive last night, or?
No, we
No.
haven't really heard of it. We,
Haven't had any reports of anything that did any damage.
Emmett County, there's something in Emmett County kind of.
They said there was a shed that was blew over there, but I was listening to the radio on the way down. It must have been a really defining line on where the rain started, because
Yeah.
they didn't have much in Esterville, or Dollar even, so.
You get 2 inches.
Did you have 2 at your place, Ron?
Good bankrupt.
That's the most,
There's water sitting.
yeah, Conley said 1 3/4 or
Yeah.
so in town of Bancroft, so Yeah, that stretch right there.
Okay, anything else?
We're good right now.
Do we have any status update on the Highway 9 junkyard, or is that maybe
Well,
up at all?
It was cleaned, there's metal there, the cameras are up.
We got signs, no dumping signs put up.
They are
They
up,
are up.
thank you.
Okay,
So now we will be in coordination. We did, there has been 2 times we've witnessed, 3 times we've witnessed people. So we're working with law enforcement on those.
okay, I just know the last time I was up there semi-recently, he still had some of his own equipment in the
There's
road ditch and
2
stuff.
pieces of equipment that need to be removed, yeah, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Corey sent
Corey's
an
not gonna be
email.
here.
Yeah, that he's not gonna be here this
Yeah.
morning.
Discussion decision approval of vision renewal rates and sign renewal signature page.
Yeah, there's no changes, but since you approved Delta Dental, we thought you should probably do the same with this, so, we just need, an approval and then somebody to sign it so we can send it back to them.
Somebody to sign it,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
I saw there was a couple other plan options, I know they're all a little more expensive, but do they cover more things? Cause it looks like the frame allowance on recommendation 2 went from 50 to 150. Contact lens allowance was the same, but I guess I don't know if there's value in switching to anything different. The L7 looks like it covers standard progressives and premium progressives. And I mean, they've got a potential member savings in that line, I don't know how they calculate it, but
When you say L7, what are you talking about?
that's the middle option, it says recommendation number 1.
Okay, I see the L7 then. Alright, thank you.
And then recommendation 2 says L3, which looks like it's the same as what we have, but it must be some type of update because it's got a different plan number. Copay is the same, but frame allowance is $100 more.
Well, it says the L7 offers standard progressive and premium progressives is the difference.
Yeah, and then, but then the L3 is the same lens options as what we currently have, but the frame allowance is $100 higher and the premium is $3.50 a month more for employees. I mean, I don't know if there's a big need or a desire to change, but they are showing potential member savings in that almost bottom line.
I have no experience or passion here at all.
Yeah,
I don't
you know,
either.
and this is employees that are
Yeah, yeah,
paying
right,
for this, so, you know, it's coming out of their pockets.
I think it's just which plan option they get to choose from,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess,
and they all get they don't get it's not individual choice, we're selecting one.
yeah,
One plan for everybody.
yeah.
The renewal isn't that significant different.
Which one?
For the current,
Current versus one of the other recommendations, or what are you trying to say?
well, I'm just saying going from the current to staying what we're on right now and staying with that same plan for the new pricing, it doesn't look like it's increased that much.
No, I think it's the same.
Well,
No.
maybe I'm reading this wrong, but are we renewing the left column with the current L3 or the right column with the recommendation of L3?
So it has a different plan code.
It does,
You
that's
notice that?
what I'm, yeah,
So the current
So if you look at the top blue letters, it shows current plan, it's
Uh-huh.
the same plan code. But if you look at the current rates up under that blue line there, and then you match them with the plan renewal pricing, you can follow it along,
It's up
so
34 cents.
11.21 up to 11.55,
Yeah.
21.52 up to 22.17.
Yep,
From 23.46 to 24.16, 30.18 up to 31.09. So-
but our renewal selection towards the bottom, if you see the box that's checked,
Yep.
it's the same number as what the current,
so
Yeah.
that's what Josh said too, yeah.
Yeah,
He said the same thing,
yeah, it's not the, yeah,
not the third line,
no,
no,
Yeah.
no, so it's up just a little.
I guess I don't have a huge passion or whatever, but based on their little chart and potential member savings, I didn't know if that's something that we should look at deeper. I don't know if there's anyone,
Does anybody, employee wise, do they look at it, does anybody study it, does anybody have an opinion?
they probably
have to ask
they
them.
probably don't know the options that we've even seen.
Okay, alright, okay,
I could be wrong, but I doubt that anybody else has ever even seen these packages. I mean, there's definitely a difference in pricing between what we're currently on versus the other two recommendations, but it looks like they cover more, so.
haven't heard anybody complain about the plan we have now, but you do have to check with employees.
Yeah,
how much use is it?
Quite a bit, I have it, there's quite a bit.
yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking if you look at the frame allowance on its own, say it's $100 more that's paid, if you pay $350 or $360, whatever it is. Extra a month, and you get a new set of frames, you're gonna probably be money ahead,
These are monthly rates,
Mm-hmm,
I believe so.
yeah.
carry the ball if you wanna do so,
Like I
I'd
said,
say if there's no complaints, people have been happy with it, they're using it.
I would say, that, yeah, the 360 is a 25% increase over what they're,
Mhm.
I understand what you're saying too, so, like I said, I have no passion here, I can see both arguments, I'd say, I guess
I could even see the L7 being more valuable, which is, they show a higher member savings there, but the premiums are a little cheaper than the recommendation number 2 on the right, but it covers progressives, and I guess
if you're not buying the progressives, it wouldn't mean anything to you, correct?
that's
Right, because
probably true,
In
yeah.
that column, the frame allowance and
It's the
contact
same.
Just
lens
means
is
you're
the
paying a
same.
higher premium for someone else to have the option to get progressive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's the only difference on that one, yeah.
so, yeah, I guess, I don't have a burning passion on any of it, but just something that people probably don't know about as an option.
Well, we need to do it today, or we need,
It has to be by July 1st, so
you,
if
Did we
you're
talk
gonna,
about it at the department head meeting?
if you're gonna make a change, you need to talk to employees,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they're the ones paying for it, not the county.
yeah,
Yep.
So, they're the ones that need to have that information.
do we maybe send this to department heads and say, get a feel for your employees and bring it back to us by next week?
You can,
I mean,
yeah,
okay,
okay.
I'm good with that,
alright,
I mean, it's a decision that can be made,
we're
but,
we're late to come,
yeah,
so I'm dialing 9, correct?
Yeah, just
Yes,
don't follow the
correct.
1-1.
just write the 712. That's a joke there that I didn't follow. This 480 pound is what?
When you get to the code.
Just once?
Well, it says twice, so it might ask you again.
Pam, did you see the email from somebody yesterday saying that they, someone was requesting to pay for it privately?
No, he wants to pick, well, I didn't read all of it real close,
You
but he
hang
wants to
it in
pick
there.
who does it. I don't know who's paying for it, I didn't read that, but. he
Hello,
wants
can you
to
guys hear
choose
us?
the contractors.
Good morning.
Morning.
They're busy.
Jerry? All in favor, say aye. I need to go to work. Yeah. Okay, we're ready.
Okay,
Good morning.
good morning. This is Howard Hawes, I'm the vice chair, Kossuth County. We got Josh, Kyle, and myself, plus Tammy and our drainage clerk Heather here. I'm
Do you
carrying
guys
them
have
up.
your full board?
Yeah, we have everybody here,
Okay,
Perfect.
Officer and Jordan, the drainage clerk.
And our county attorney.
we have to call
Okay.
Colin.
Is Colin there or is he joining on the phone, do we know?
It's on the line.
Okay,
On the phone,
yeah.
Okay,
perfect, morning.
alright.
Good morning.
So, what do you want? Go ahead. So, you wanna start with the change order, or you wanna start with the private repair?
Yeah, either one's fine, I guess we'll just go in order of what's on the agenda, so I guess we can start with the request by landowner to fill a repair site. So basically, that's Brian Tool, is the landowner along the drainage ditch, and it's very close to Highway 18 for reference. And basically, we've got a damaged site there. There's a picture that I sent along, and actually the pictures from the Bolton Maine drone flight, it shows, they kind of flew it more directly overhead, so you can see how bad it needs to bang back to this spot. And actually, since that time, it's gotten worse. So, we had talked when we were doing the meetings and everything about how we were gonna do repairs and filling everything in with dirt or something before we put riprap on was gonna end up being very expensive. And knowing that, we maybe gonna lose a little bit of land to the ditch, but that was a trade-off, kind of that was the college was willing to make to try to keep the cost of the project down. Well, Brian would like this to be filled, and he actually said that he would hire somebody to do it if that was okay with us. And so I kind of told him, well, I would, if we were gonna let you do it, obviously the board would have to okay it first of all, and second of all, for my sake, I want some requirements to be met, like you can't just dump sand or junk material in there, it's gotta be packed, and you can't go past the pre-existing, channel area, all that stuff. He was fine with that, and on the agenda, we've got request by landowner to hire LNG from Whittemore, and since since we got that on the agenda, Brian actually talked with LNG and they kind of recommended, and I agree with them, that they just directly contact Reitzel, who's the contractor for the ditch repair project, and have them, basically hire them to do it, so that way it'd be placed, the fill material would be placed in the hole right before they put riprap on there. And not, like, the LNG went and did it now, and it may be a little while before they get up there to put riprap on it. If we get an 8-inch main or something, I don't think it'd be very good.
So Brian's
Go
gonna
ahead.
Bill?
Yeah. It's not as, so that's not the stand, like, basically for the project, we have it as a standard planned on filling some of the bank bluffs. However, and if you remember, I think it was in the first change order we did, there's 2 different spots where we did the change order to have Reitzel bring in fill. Those were a little bit different than this. They weren't necessarily just a bank scour. One was where water had gone over the bank and basically ate this big hole quite a ways out in the field. And there's really no other way to get around that other than to fill it in. And then another spot where there was water that had dumped over it, there was a tile outlet, and it was basically this giant hole way out, away from the ditch, that really needed to get filled in. I guess that's a discussion we can have. I mean, if you think that the drainage district should, basically pay to fill that in, that's something that could be done. Brian had just asked me, are we planning on filling it in? And I said, no. And then he said, well, would it be all right if I hired somebody to fill it in? And so that's how we got to today.
Well, I guess I think it makes sense to have the same contractor doing the project so they can coordinate the timeline of everything. I think that makes good sense. I would be a little concerned about changing our plans to start filling in all the sites that we have planned with the conversations that we had with landowners before. So I guess as long as you're comfortable with the specs and the process of how we can handle this, I'm fine with either contractor, I'd say, but I do think it makes sense to have the contractor that's doing the project do it all together at one time.
So is there any, if he pays to fix it once, is there an implication that the district will fix it the next time or anything like that, or he's just gonna do this totally on his own and he's at the mercy of the weather again still?
Well, so I'm glad you asked that question because and maybe didn't make it clear that this spot, we do have plans for repairs, but it was basically to put riprap down.
Right.
And so we were gonna pull the banks back a little bit and put riprap. So either way, we're gonna be putting riprap. So if they fill it in with fill material, soil, and pack it in, they're gonna be putting riprap on top of that. And the drainage district will be paying for that part of it. So if there's an issue there, I don't think there's an implication that Brian would be responsible for that in the future. The riprap, the goal from that obviously is that that's gonna hold in place, and especially, I've got some concerns about filling holes with loose dirt in a spot that already, had a big problem. But
Yeah.
the riprap on top of it, that helps deflect a lot of the force away, and then armor the bank and protect it from future damage. So yeah, I don't think there's an issue with that personally.
Do you have any thoughts or requirements as far as what type of material? I know you said not just loose junk dirt, but is it gonna have to be a clay mix or a certain percent of clay, or are you gonna have a tab on the quality of material?
That's a good question, I don't necessarily have numbers for you on that. But rifles, I mean, it's gonna be some clay that's gonna be packed in there, and that's actually for what rifles do, you know, if you have all black dirt, that's actually higher value stuff for other applications. So bringing in clay is cheaper and actually better for this anyway.
Yep.
And they did haul in fill material, I forget what site that number that was, 192, I think, by, Strickers,
Oh, yeah,
north of his place, and that was good material, so I assume they would use that same sort of material, and I'd have no problem with that.
okay,
So it sounds like, the engineer's recommending we do this, is, what's Palo Alto County think?
I say go for it, get it done.
okay, well,
Okay.
yeah, our agenda, like Colin said, has,
Heavy enough, Colin, I think you need to have heavy enough riprap so it can wash it out of there.
yep,
Right.
So Colin, there's one picture here, 378,
Yeah,
is that one of these that you gotta fill in with dirt?
that's the one that Brian wants to have filled in with dirt, yeah. And actually, if you're looking at that picture, while we're on it, the north, or the upper tile outlet there, it's eroded back far enough that that's washed away now.
So.
Just so that gives you a little bit.
So the
That
question,
gives you Go ahead.
to you is, a couple questions. First of all, it's been riprap before, and obviously that didn't hold. The second thing is if Brandon School didn't tell you to put any dirt in here, you weren't gonna put dirt in here, how would you?
Right.
How would you fix that without pouring dirt back? I mean, how do you fix, I mean, that's what I want.
That is a fair question, and as I look at this photo, I was thinking about the same thing, because at the upper end, you see that there's riprap jutting out all the way to how do you transition the two together? Basically in the upper part where there's already riprap and transitioning that into this site, that would be a little bit of a challenge. You probably actually have to pull off some of that riprap and blend it together. And then at the first part of it, you actually have to pull the bank back some and try to recreate a slope there, and then at the bottom of that slope, make riprap.
That's Keith and I said, it looks to me like that thing is too steep, it needs to be feathered back.
Yeah,
Well-
that's that's what the contractor's been instructed to do on those sites. You've got vertical stuff, and you gotta pull it back, and you can use some of that upper bank material that you're pulling off, kind of fill in the bottom of it, and then basically recreate a new slope. And then put riprap on top of that.
to me, even looking at the picture a little closer, it almost looks like the ditch is turning from the top left and towards the right and coming back, so like it almost looks like the water kind of broke over the edge of the riprap there and then ate out into the bank, because that's the direction it wanted to go. But it looks like the riprap above that's trying to force it back to the left. But yeah, I guess I would have some of those same concerns that it's gonna do it again as well.
And I'll look back to see what it looks like before making sure that it gets repaired in a way that it's not gonna happen again. I see what you're saying, Kyle, like, it looks like maybe the water got behind and blew this out and, you know, got on the backside of the riprap, made a hole, and then blew the
Yep.
whole thing.
Yep. And I don't know if it needed to be a little higher or what, but it looks like it got right over the top of the riprap and just ate it all out.
I have a question. Well, I'm just trying to understand, I don't know how you think that rough on dirt. So I'm trying to understand why the landlord put dirt in the district. That's just my question.
Yeah, basically, you can't fix the channel's gonna be wider there.
Well, and you guys, you know, it's your deal. I just, you know, obviously the riprap didn't move before, for some reason, you know, and what Kyle can, which is probably right, you know, I'm a bit, you know, just. That just looks hard to fix without putting dirt in. Okay.
Any other questions
So,
here? Any other questions from? No, go ahead.
Okay,
So it's okay for Brian to hire Rifle to put fill in here before we put riprap down.
Yep.
Okay.
I had that opinion especially earlier, but I am a little concerned it might justify a little extra investigation because if it's gonna do the same thing if we get another substantial rain, I'd be afraid of that. It does look like the water's kind of pushed towards the riprap from the top end of that, and then it tries to push it away, and if our channel isn't straight there already, we're gonna have a constant problem.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I will make sure, you know, to take a closer look at that and pay special attention to make sure that that's not gonna happen again.
do we need a motion here or anything?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, do you want a motion, or I guess what kind of direction do you want based on the conversation we've had?
I would like a motion, that way it's in a record that it's been allowed for Brian to hire, you know, basically privately hire a contractor that happens to be the same contractor doing his job, to fill that in.
Carmen, will you read the motion?
Just to approve the request by Brian Tool to pay for fill dirt on repair site 378-1 on PAK1 in coordination with Rifle Excavating.
Can we add to that with, pending additional, investigation by the engineer? I just like to make sure that that's on the record, that Colin's gonna look at it a little closer.
Is it just the filled dirt or is it the work to put it there and everything too?
Yeah, it's all of it.
Okay,
You read it again.
To approve a request by Brian Tool to pay for fill dirt on repair site 378-1 on PNK1 in coordination with Rifle Excavating, pending additional investigation by the engineer. To pay for fill dirt and, labor.
I'll make that motion, Stecker.
somebody wanna second that?
Keith Woods will second it.
Okay,
Perfect.
okay, so we have a motion by Kyle Stecker, a second by Keith Wertz to, approve having Brian Tool pay to fix this spot. Is there any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none?
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All eyes here.
All eyes here also. Okay, so then we have the change order, which is different amounts of riprap in different places.
Right, so one of the sites, a couple of sites involved with the change order are actually in the same area, site 373-1. That one actually we're reducing by 85 tons. It was a reach where basically we had planned on riprap for this long stretch, but there's already riprap in some of it. So we really just need to fill in between. So actually we can take 85 tons off, but we have two new sites, site 373, which is in that same area with 368 tons. And that's for reference, it's about a ton a foot. So that's 368 feet. And a new site, 418-5, which that one is in a different area, that's 148 tons. So that's north, I think 2 miles north of Highway 18, along P20. I forget the east-west road, but it's where there's this culvert that goes diagonally, like through the intersection. To take the ditch from the east side of P20 to the west side. And it's on the south side of that intersection, southeast corner of that intersection. But basically, these are sites that when we agreed to do this project, or it was approved, it was to do the most severe, damage site. And that was what, we picked the ones that we knew were the worst at that time. Well, it's been a couple of years, it's been almost 3 years since the flood event happened that caused the vast majority of the damage. And it's been a couple of years since we did our initial survey. So now that we went out, did staking and have looked at, the majority of the ditch over again, there's sites that we've seen that have gotten worse. And these are two of them that basically in our opinion, something's gotta be done. And so we're proposing to add those to the project as part of the change order. And just as an aside, Carter Sam called me yesterday, and there's another site that likely will be included in the future. We gotta get out there and look at it. Landowner called, and it's, I guess, Dwayne Burning House, and I guess it was a repair request that he put in like 4 years ago or something, and it wasn't part of the plan work to be done. So we'll take a look at that and see what needs to get done, and if something needs, we'll do a separate change order. But anyway, that's an aside. So with the stuff that I've talked about, it amounts to an increase of the contract amount of $18,533, and that would make the new contract price, including the change order, be $460,513.75. The original was almost $441,000. So as part of that change order, there's attachments that show those sites, pictures from the spring.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
Okay.
Can you verify if it's change order 2 or 3? There's
Who made the motion?
Stecker, and that's change order 2, right?
3.
Yeah. It is actually 2. I apologize to the gals in the auditor's office. In the email I said it was change order 3.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
So you made the vote.
Yeah,
Okay, motion by Stecker, seconded by Grettinger to approve the change order number 2. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All ayes in Kossuth?
All eyes here.
Okay, motion's approved.
And will you ask Colin if he'll send those change orders over to us to sign?
are you guys gonna send the change orders over to us to sign after you do, or what's our plan for paperwork?
I just have a copy here, and I'll we'll, email it over to you.
Okay, perfect, Tammy just wanted us to double check quick, so
Yeah.
that
I
works.
don't have the original, so it'll just be a copy.
That's fine.
Okay, sounds like a plan, thank you.
Yep.
Talk to you guys later,
Bye.
you too.
Bye. Okay. Next up is discussion decision approval of 2026 applications for natural conservation.
Yeah, so in your packet, there should be a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. So we're allotted through 1,000 acres. The soil and water, they send out the applications every year. Our office kind of reviews them with the aerial imagery that we have. From last year's applications, it's the same amount of acres, so it's 1,230.81 acres. So, is there any questions on that, I guess?
These are just the same people?
Yeah, yep, they have to apply every year, it's an exemption for the land that's in forest, open prairie, or rivers and streams, so.
And you said you were allowed 3,000 acres?
Yeah.
Who does that?
That's in the code of Iowa, so it's 1% of the ag land or 3,000 acres, whichever one
We're
is.
well under that.
Yeah, so.
Is there any, go ahead, is there anything to debate or anything?
No, it's pretty cut and dry. Yeah. Yep.
Motion by Kyle, second by Josh, to approve the applications for national conservation, is it tax abatement or whatever?
Yeah, applications.
Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You want to,
Phil,
Yeah, that should be quick.
he's not gonna be here, he did send you an email.
Yeah.
That states what this next request is for.
okay.
Hey, just letting you guys know, we'll be ready for him shortly up in the boardroom. Perfect, thank you. He's answered, but.
Okay, so the next up is the discussion decision approval repair of a Zoll X series monitor. As Tammy said, there was a email about it, he was gonna get a discount if he got it booked and everything and he needs it, basically.
Yeah, it's just barely over the threshold, so I'll move to approve.
I can second that. So a motion and a second to approve the repair of the Zoll monitor, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye, opposed? I think it was approved.
Doug should be on his way, I'm gonna go grab water real quick. I think I heard Doug coming up.
Good morning again.
Good morning,
Good
Jennifer.
morning.
See your pictures of the county farm, there's a lot of water moving there.
Yeah, gonna make a note of that here, discuss it a little bit, but anyway.
Go ahead, what do you wanna talk about?
Well, Yeah, there's pictures from, I believe it was the 9th. If you look at the title of the picture, it's there's 2026-04-09, so last Thursday, looking east and looking west. And then this morning, the 14th, looking east and looking west. And I think there's just as much water coming from the east as what there was last week. I think there is an intake on the west side. We got, just by probing and doing a little bit of handwork, we got it taking water yesterday, so I think the tile is okay going west. But we just gotta get in there now and make sure we don't have a problem under the road or in the road right away. And we'll keep on, like I said, we'll keep on working on that, so. And we'll let Tammy know what's going on. So.
Yeah, right away work.
Yeah, there is one request, Heartland Power Company, they are requesting, they've got 3 miles of roadway up in German Township, be the, between 17 and 26, between section 17 and 20, 16 and 21, and 14 and 23, they're replacing the overhead, and they're going to place underground there. So, big project for them. I would recommend to the board that they would permit this request be approved.
Motion by Kyle to, and a second by Josh to approve right-of-way work with Heartland Power Cooperative. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
And that's all the requests for work in the road right there. Sign there on that bottom line by your phone. Howard. Yep. Thank you.
Anything else?
Tomorrow, Palo Alto County is hosting a FEMA meeting. I was invited to that, so I'm planning on going. If anyone would like to ride along with me, they're more than welcome. Just let me know and we'll
Time are we going?
start at 10, is that
10,
correct?
10 to
Leave
9.
here 9:15 or so. Grants. This has been probably about a year ago. There were 2 bridges in Kossuth County that were included in an application for what's called the Competitive Highway Program Grants, CHPP. The state actually applied about a year earlier, and it had about 30 bridges in it, and they put in this application about a year ago. We received notice from the federal government that both of those applications were approved. So the first applications were approved at 80% funding. The bridges that are in our application, they're being funded at 64% through this grant. The projects that we have, that were awarded, beyond A30 right to the east of Ledyard, and that goes over the Union Slough outlet. And then on P16 north of Fenton, that goes over the east fork of the Des Moines River. I quickly amended our construction program, and it's been submitted to the Iowa DOT for review. The projects are in the fiscal 28 construction year right now, and shortly, well, it may be a few months, agreements will be forwarded so we can get those agreements and get everything. We have a safety meeting.
No.
Please.
We have a safety meeting April 24th at the Nature Center, starting at 8. Talked about gravel roads with the foreman this morning. Roof repair, I did get some quotes, I looked at them, I still have some questions for some of the people that submitted roof repair. work, so, once I get that all determined, I'll let the board know those. Our office, we're preparing for the 2-week pay periods, which will be starting soon. And we're also working a little bit on, the possibility of having electronic time clocks. And then for the transfer station, just a reminder, May 2nd, which is a couple weeks. It's a public day that people have recycling, they can bring to the transfer station or household hazardous waste. So, that's kind of everything that I have.
So those bridges would be in from July 1st to 27 to June 30th to 28th.
Correct, we'd like to get them let by December of 2027, so. Yes,
Okay. Anything else?
that's all that I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a discussion decision, health insurance options.
Let me,
Lana was here.
yeah, I think she's over in the old board room, excuse me, how you doing? Pardon me. I think the auditor's office is who they're.
So we get another bid,
Mhm.
bid for the drainage project next.
That's some of it, yeah. Mhm.
And I'll do it later.
Morning.
Morning, Dan.
So we met last week and we had a couple of questions. We did contact Jeff Edgar with Allers and Cooney, and he confirmed there's no conflict with us offering a no cost policy and the ability for staff to waive. So I know that was brought up, but which I think is good.
Did Michelle ever get back to us on any sort of research on where that thought came from?
Yep.
Okay.
She just said that she confirmed, but she said for us to check with legal.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
so.
No, I was just curious if she had any reference.
And then our final rates did come in. We do have still a couple of questions, and I contacted, the Moon Walmart team and Michelle yesterday. And hopefully we'll get those back, get them sent off so we can get our summary of benefits back, because open enrollment is right around the door.
And there was no change between the proposed and the final, so good news there.
Okay.
For the rates,
Final rates, yeah, were the same as what was proposed, or what was given in January.
okay.
Still working a couple of questions on updating the frequently asked questions, but I think we're pretty much there. We're gonna discuss the vendor, so that will be another question. Michelle is coming and I've started setting up appointments on April 21st to go over just basics for employees. And then I think we've got a policy to talk about for the HSA, or excuse me, the group policy for the 509 and contributions, excuse me, and then the vendor to talk about.
Donna, Doug, were we also gonna talk about whether retired employees qualify for the front loading?
That was kind of in the
Yeah, we had
definition.
talked about that last week.
I
Don't
know.
we need to?
You decided that?
No, we had talked about that we were needing to make a decision this
Okay,
week.
that's what I'm
Yep.
reminded.
I think in looking at the handbook, looking at the definition of 509A, and then this policy references that employees Kossuth County employees, Kossuth County elected officials, and retired Kossuth County employees that are eligible for the group health insurance benefits through the 509A.
That's in the handbook now.
The definition is that 509A, that's who qualifies for our group health insurance benefits under the insurance section.
That's who qualifies for the insurance benefits,
Correct.
and we're gonna consider this an insurance benefit.
It's a policy for the county's contribution to the health savings account and employees' health savings account. And in that policy, there were definitions, and we chose employee to be what is contained in the handbook. But it is, everybody has a copy of that in the folder, is that correct?
Sure we do.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah, in today's folder, I think there's a health insurance.
Yeah.
There's some, yeah.
So it would be direct conflict of the handbook to not include it, or it's a decision to be made, or what's your opinion?
I think it's a decision that needs to be made. I mean, it says definitions as used in this policy. And there's employee, employer, there's flexible spending accounts, health savings accounts, high deductible health, we just have different things in there, and we got the policy. And we use we use the word employee in the policy, so for the policy, we gotta say.
So this isn't in the handbook now, this is an
No,
addition?
No.
There's nothing about contributing to the
Just with
HSA.
their eligibility for
Well-
health insurance.
Yeah, so there's nothing in the handbook now about whether a former employee has the same rights as a current employee or anything like that?
Well, what she read to you was,
Well, in relationship to insurance, as long as they're eligible at retired, they can opt into the insurance benefits.
And they pay the whole thing?
mhm.
Josh, thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts, but. Right now,
I don't,
Go either way on that, really.
I don't think we should be contributing to an HSA for, people that aren't actively employed in Kossuth County.
Yeah, I'd be willing to, do you guys, I would tend to agree with what Kyle said, I don't see they're paying the full freight of the cost of the insurance. I don't see why we would deviate from that and contribute to the HSA, but do you guys have thoughts or anything you wanna recommend or feedback or?
It's a decision of the board.
No doubt.
Can I ask a question?
Do you wanna?
Can't even see.
I can't see. I'm just wondering, so you're talking about when people retire, if you guys would put into the HSA,
Correct.
that's where we're at.
After active employment.
So those people that have retired have put a lot of years in here, is there a way to maybe put a stipulation of you'll do it for X amount of years instead of forever? To at least have some kind of benefit there for giving the county 20, 30 years?
well, they can only have insurance till they're 65.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, I don't know, I'm just thinking of something for retiring, I mean,
I think it's still, even just having access to the insurance that we offer here is still a benefit from retiring here. I guess I don't think that would change my opinion.
You were gonna say something?
No,
You are.
I've got an eye twitch.
Way to go out on a limb.
Seriously, I'm going twitching right now, so.
Is that a motion for an eye twitch?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, it wasn't a signal, it's just.
I guess I'll make a motion to not offer an HSA contribution to former employees that are retired.
So maybe we should be more positive and say who we are gonna make it a.
Yeah.
Well,
Kossuth County employees, Kossuth County elected officials,
Only,
And
to
delete-
apply it to only active employees.
and delete the retired Kossuth County employees.
I don't think there needs to be any action of the board today. We are putting together a written policy, and when the written policy is brought to you, I think it'd be appropriate to pass the policy
So we
on
just
that
need
day.
direction to remove that portion of it
Correct.
today, that's all.
And that's what we'll do, is redefine that in that policy.
So you want a consensus?
If you direct us, that's the way we'll put it.
Haven't we done motions for other things just so that you've got a record that you can go off of?
I don't need a record. I mean, the record would be this policy.
We're
There will be-
we're discussing the policy and it's a draft, so.
I think it's clear to have it in record, but whatever.
Well, you do what you choose, but we will be,
Want to articulate any opinion or thoughts?
Yeah, I have a thought that, when you retire from here and you're only gonna get the insurance policy for, be on our insurance until 65, you switch to a high deductible to start doing an HSA, how much are you really gonna build up into it anyways before you're off of it, so. Is it worth us going through the, trouble of getting that set up to only maybe go for a couple more years after retirement, or? That's just what I was thinking.
I guess I'm gonna go land on the side of, I don't think, I would be of the opinion that we don't need to be in the business of offering it to former employees. I'd say the consensus is today anyway to go that route.
Yeah.
Current employees and elected officials, I guess if there's a difference between those two.
Kyle, are you withdrawing your motion or is it still stand?
I think it'd be clear to have something on the record, but
I'll second it. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Can I read the motion, cause
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
quite clear?
sure.
Motion by Stecker, second by Haas, to not offer HSA contributions from Kossuth County, for individuals, or maybe HSA, not offer HSA contributions from the county for individuals who are retired.
Or former employees or whatever, yeah,
Okay.
and I'm fine with some wordsmithing on that, I don't really care how
Okay.
it's written, but.
Okay,
if you wanna be clear, it's retired
Employees, 'cause
employees
that's the
that
only way they're
are,
eligible.
that
Yeah,
are eligible for health insurance benefits. Not all retired employees are necessarily eligible to be a participant in our group health insurance, depending on the situation.
They have to have an official retirement through IFRS.
okay, so retired employees that are eligible for health insurance benefits. Okay, thank you.
good with that.
Kossuth County group health insurance benefits. You really, I mean,
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anything else along those lines?
Then our HSA vendor, I think, is on the agenda.
Yeah,
also.
that's next.
everything, yep. Anything else before we get to that, for discussion or decisions? To prepare for open enrollment?
I don't think so, I think I went over the 7 things I had on my list.
Okay. I looked over the different proposals. I didn't keep a detailed list or anything, but looked like everybody was offering free from both the employer and the employee standpoint. Do I have that right?
I think there was with Northwest, I think they had like a $3 fee, if I remember right.
And I just looked at it while I was waiting, I think if you have an account there, they will waive that
Yeah.
cost, but yeah, it is if you don't have an account.
Yeah, and that was, I wanna say that one was a little confusing to me because it said it had the running balance that would waive it, but it also had something else, I'm trying to think of how it was worded, I'm getting there. It says, or you hold a combined deposit and or loan relationship of $1 or more. So,
Somewhere else it mentions a higher amount though, right?
minimum, maintain a balance of 10,000.
Or more every day.
Higher interest.
Yeah, which would waive the monthly fee, but it says, or you hold a combined deposit and or loan relationship of $1. So if that just means basically any account that's open, I suppose.
The request for proposals does have a clause that if you have questions, you have every right to contact these people and clarify their proposal. So depending on what your discussion is, you would have the right to clearly identify anybody's language in any proposal.
Well, I guess from the review I had, I mean, I kinda agree with what Howard had said, it looks like everybody either had no fees or they would waive it. So from an employee and employer perspective, no fees I think is important. I think the next thing that could kinda be compared is the interest rate, which I think Doug's sheet had most of those, or all of those compared, so like Northwest had a tiered approach, if it was under 2,500, it was 0.25, if it was over that, it was 0.3%. But it looks like Farmers Trust and Savings Bank has a 2% interest rate, which looks to be substantially above anybody else. There were some options through the credit union to put it into CDs, for a couple different time periods with a couple different rates. I'm guessing the banks would have the same options, but, I don't know if anyone specified that in their proposals. So.
I see Iowa State Bank is here, I assume for this reason.
Yes.
I'm having trouble pulling it up right now, but do you offer CD rates through?
Not for HSAs.
Not for HSA,
Okay, that's good to know. Is there anyone else from a bank here that I'm not seeing? I don't think so. What do you guys think?
well, on the surface. Well, on the surface, that 2% looks like it far and away blows everything else is in the 1/4% range or less. Unless you move the CD end of things.
Fidelity had 3/4, but otherwise,
That's bad.
yeah, otherwise, yeah, the CDs would be the next highest percentage rate.
Is this in an email?
What are you looking
It's
for?
in your
It's in the
board
folder.
folder.
It's in the folder.
Under the HSA
Okay, I'm sorry.
tab. I think a lot of the, like, compliance and security and, all that stuff, I'd say generally is probably pretty similar. A lot of the eligibility, I mean, there's some that didn't really have much for guidance, but a lot of it is IRS guidance. I think most, if not all, had free debit cards for HSA accounts, and there might have been one that provided checks.
First batch of checks was free.
The first with Iowa State Bank, I think, was free, but I think someone else, might have been Northwest that had free checks, just forever or whatever. Yeah, Northwest offers free checks. Which they're probably the outlier on that, besides the first deposit.
Free debit card and free check.
But I think everybody else had a free debit card and like online bill pay options and stuff like that. I think almost everybody had, online and mobile banking, yes. You guys got any preference?
The criteria we're looking at there, again, it appears to me that the Farmers Trust one is the winner, but did somebody else, do you see something different?
Besides the CDs, nobody else is close on the interest rate, so I guess, yeah, I don't see anything else that really stands out to me substantially between the rest as a whole.
Doug and Donna, do you see anything there that? Josh?
Agree with what you guys are saying.
I'll make a motion that we go with Farmers Trust and Savings, that's the right one, right? Yes, Farmers Trust and Savings
Yep.
Bank. For the HSA's, accounts for employees and elected officials. If there's a difference.
All employees.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Haas, second by Stecker. We go with Farmers Trust and Savings Bank for the HSA accounts for Kossuth County employees. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you everyone for the vote.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is the HR CPC, we'd like to just put that on for next week.
Okay,
We'd like you to be here when we talk about it.
okay, thank you.
Okay, you need a break, anybody need a break? Josh needs a break, we come back with training.
Tyler, you wanted to set up?
Good morning, Tyler.
Congratulations.
How many?
Tyler.
Oh, thank you. Oh, really? Okay.
Congratulations.
You got married.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Thank you.
It's been busy.
Tell me about it. I said,
Yeah.
I said coming back to work that Monday, that didn't do much for the nerves. It didn't give me any
chance to kinda calm down.
Unfortunate, yeah, I know the feeling there,
Right.
that's not fun.
Follow along with it. Here for bid opening.
Last night, I couldn't pull this chart up.
Really?
Everything else I came up individually, but put it on.
What happened there?
But I looked through them all last night, and for some reason I had in my mind today, there was an email, I blew that up.
Oh.
You should be able to step forward Christmas and make little partners.
I see there's about 6 emails from this morning, but back I can't do 2 things at once.
And it was good, did a whole lot of sleeping and just do nothing.
Between Easter, the weekend before,
I forgot my coffee cup is
get
here.
everything together.
Oh.
So I have to take
Well,
some
yeah.
days off to study,
Let's hold it your
do all
hand.
that, and I'm back into meetings and this stuff. You can't help but feel like you've forgotten something, you know, it's just. I'll hand these out for people to
Thank you.
follow along with.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if I got the tag on myself. Yeah, that's what I said. I should, I'm just here to make you look like a cheat. How's it? Oh, go ahead.
Can you talk with Mark?
Yes, and actually I could, once this is over, if we get to that, I can kind of discuss, I think, a little bit more what you may be after.
Okay, yeah,
As
because I
opposed
just
to.
had like, I just like had information on it, let's go, it's fine, but I don't know, because we didn't really.
Yeah, there's.
Start pouring on it.
Big saving?
I see we've talked to Martin.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, let's put it on the agenda, we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, I can
That's
help,
why you're-
I can help with that.
Okay. Just.
Okay, we're all back?
Okay.
So petition, oh, I'm wrong, I'm on the wrong page, I'm sorry. Discussion decision bid opening for the DD4 Lat 11 Ducks Unlimited project.
Yes, okay, thank you. Good morning, my name is Tyler Conley, professional engineer with Bolton & Mink, here on behalf of opening the bids for the Ducks Unlimited portion of the Drainage District number 4 lateral 11 improvement project. Thank everyone here for your bids. We'll get started here. No particular order. First, I have Rognus Brothers Excavating out of Lake Mills, Iowa. Bid security is in the form of a bid bond at 5%. Appears correct. Recognized addendum number 1. Total of $414,408.00. 414,408.00. Next is Reitzel Excavating Inc. out of Burt, Iowa. Bid security is in the form of a bid bond at 5%. Here's correct. Recognized addendum 1. Total of $362,859.00. 362,859.00. Next is Dornbeer Inc. out of Wesley, Iowa. Bid security is in the form of a bid bond at 5%. Appears in order. Recognize the addendum. Total of $349,884.85. 349,884.85. And last, we have Jensen Excavating and Trucking LLC out of Albert Lee, Minnesota. Bid security is in the form of a bid bond at 5%. appears correct. And recognized addendum 1. Total of $377,781.16. 377,781.16. Those are all of the bids that I have. Thank you all. I believe the consideration on this is set for, is that set for a week from today?
I think so.
That's typical.
That's something that
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, a week from today.
Yes.
Thank you all.
perfect.
Thank you.
Can I have these back? Yep.
Ron, yes, today, but recognized addendum 1.
Yes, yep.
Said it.
Yep. Yeah, there. There's just the one right here on top.
Yep, that was the only one I didn't have in my notes.
Thank you.
We'll take these and get them to the appropriate section.
Okay, next up, we have discussion, decision, drainage petition for DD 116. You sticking around for that?
I can and will, yes. And for a little bit of context on that, so we were working with the fairs for their pond drainage relief. Again, they are in the district. We're looking at what their allowable capacity would be. The big concern, of course, into the district would be any sort of pressure that they were allowed to take that way when compared to a gravity system. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but suffice to say, when we started looking at the capacities of one of those old lateral systems, it was relatively small, in the fractions of a half-inch drainage coefficient. So, in speaking with Mark about the potential options that they had, he was interested in, and I believe what he's attempting to do, is file a petition for an improvement with the stipulation that there's an informational meeting to discuss that potential improvement on lateral 12 and 14. Those are the laterals that come up into that property. So, even if it's not a petition directly for an improvement, I believe he would like to have that informational meeting, possibly even before that petition gets filed, just because he doesn't, like with all improvements, he doesn't want to get too far down the process before it's found that there's no support for that, and it ends up just getting remonstranced. So, that's essentially his intent there. I know he's been contacting other landowners and tenants in that area, and let me know he was coming up here to petition for that, so, for that hearing at a minimum.
I mean, it looks like we have a petition that we could actually act on. I mean, if we need to handle it a little extra cautious, that's probably fine, but I don't know that we could just schedule an informational meeting without acting on a petition, so.
Right, and I think he has filed, and I haven't seen it exactly, but it sounds like a valid petition for a request for that,
Okay.
so.
I think she has a couple of them.
So it was said before, and it's thinking, he's been paying assessment, has he been paying assessment on the whole acreage or just on a small part of it?
From our review, it is, of the 65 acres, it is, over 63 of them that naturally benefit from and that drain the direction of that lateral. We,
Did you say?
over 63 of the 65 that are benefiting.
Lion's share.
Oh, yes, yeah, very much so, and actually in the review, I had the concerns about the potential plowing that they had done to get surface water to go that way. I went back, that has been in practice and that way since the 1950s. You can see it on the aerials in the 1950s, and it's a prominent enough waterway that it actually shows up on the federal, their depictions, their topographic maps for drainage. So it has been going it has been draining that way.
So it's not new, it might have been touched up, but it's
Right,
not new.
right.
Okay.
It has been draining that way a long time.
Okay.
And the lion's share of it is draining that way. So, with that being said, I still don't agree with the fact that you'd just be able to, with a mechanical advantage, push pressure into a system. I still do have concerns about that. And the way you deal with that based on worst case scenarios. I've outlined all of this to Mark, essentially all culminating in the disappointment in the capacity, the available capacity in that line.
Which requires an improvement to solve.
Right.
Okay.
Which then we've been going through the process of the informational meetings and
Well, I mean, we kinda made the informational meetings a standard, even though it's not required in the code, so I think that's a good first step regardless. But I think with the specific nature of this situation in the pond and all the factors, we can probably put a little more front end emphasis on that, I would say, but, I guess since you guys have already been dealing with the situation, I'd make a motion to appoint Bolton and Mink for this petition.
I'll second.
Motion by Stecker, second by Wactor to appoint Bolton and Mink for this drainage petition. Bolton and Mink, your engineering. Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? There you go. And we send out letters for these informationals too?
Yeah, that's probably something, I don't know if you wanna coordinate with Mark or the auditor's office or whatever, but we should probably get it on our agenda to get a meeting set.
I'll do both, just, with it being the April 14th, we're probably looking end of May again on a lot of this stuff, but there are no time requirements on those, so I'll coordinate with Mark and auditor's office, Tammy, and we'll get something, recommended.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Larry.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Moving on, discussion decision, repair requests. We have one for each of Garmin, Stecker, and Wactor. Do we go ahead and approve Amber's even though,
You can,
do we need to read it?
perhaps somebody probably should.
Oh, I mean,
Evidently that's me.
You can have Josh start with this, if you want repair request.
Okay, Josh, you're in the spotlight, go ahead.
Yeah, so I got a repair request number 16 for Drainage District 51, lateral A, section 1 of Kossuth Township in the northeast quarter. Looks like Reddings had found some blockage in the drain. I'll get in touch with them and see what needs to be done for that.
Okay,
I have number 10 in SWAYA section 9 for beaver dam removal on, lot 71, open ditch, drain 4. And then number 14 is grant section 33, tile blowout. That's in 166.
Okay, Amber's, you're done? Okay. Amber's include number 11, which is in section 18 of Burt Township. We have a tiles plugged from Roger Churland. Number 12, in section 29 of Burt Township. That's also from Roger Churland, it's a tile blowout. And number 13 is in section 14 of German Township, tile not draining, standing water and field on both sides of the road. That's from Steve Seamers, if I pronounced that correctly. Somebody wanna make a motion to approve the drainage repair request? I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second by Stecker, motion by Haas, second by Stecker to approve the drainage repair request, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay.
Alright, there we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. Runway envelope.
Yeah, rogue.
We'll wait for Tammy to get back. Excuse me. Okay, discussion. For the secondary road department collective bargaining differences, I assume, between collective bargaining agreement and the handbook,
Yes,
and how we want
yes.
to,
Just like to start a little bit of a discussion here. First, got 6 secondary road employees. Josh Wachter, he is 3rd District Supervisor. Kyle Stecker, he's 4th District Supervisor. And Howard Hawes, he's 2nd District Supervisor. Matt Schlugger, for people, Matt, he's been employed with the road department since 1995, April of 1995. He's gonna be having 31 years shortly. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They're not even 31 years old.
I say 32.
You say 32, okay. We have Dale Colash right here. Dale's been working with us since September of 1981, so shortly Dale will have 45 years of being employed with the county. Then we have Conley Rolling. Conley works out, I guess Matt works out of the Wesley shop, Dale works out of Ledyard. Conley, he works out of the Bancroft shop, and Conley, he's been employed since 2021, January of 2021. Then we have Alex Langle back there. Alex, he works out of the West Bend shop. Alex has been employed since March 23 of 2009, so he's 17 years of experience. Robert Kokler out of Fenton. Robert, he was hired in 2016. He's got almost 10 years of experience. And then we got Tyler Heatland. Tyler, he works out of the the Titanca shop, Tyler, he was hired in 2023, early 2023. And he's got over 3 years of experience. In fact, Tyler, like your first day, did we get a pretty good snow? I almost had to go back to Tyler and tell him sorry, you're creating too much snow, if I remember correctly. So, anyway, I have been visiting with these six a little bit about some of the differences between the handbook and the collective bargaining unit. The collective bargaining unit, everything that's defined in the collective bargaining unit will end June 30 of this year. So then we will be moving on to a different way of administering things. And there are some different things between the contract, the collective bargaining unit contract, and the handbook. I've got stuff on electronic. I also have paper copies if you'd like to have them. These are some of the difference. It has language of everything. If you'd like to. I think Carter would like one too.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. You guys need anything else? So,
They've got it all memorized, right?
well, we can talk about it, I think they understand it. So really, the work period, the collective bargaining unit language, it talks about work period, the handbook language has a paragraph on it. What is gonna happen, I guess, is that the work period will begin Monday at 12:01 a.m. and it'll run Sunday through 11:59 or midnight, whatever time is correct, for a 7-day period. I think it's important to realize that the work period for the road department, normal working hours are 8 hours a day. They punch in at 7:30 in the morning, they punch out at 4, and they take a 30-minute lunch. So their 8 hours a day is what they are. And their normal work week is 160 hours per week.
I'm sure that's not right.
Pardon me?
I'm sure that's not right.
No, excuse me. They're 40 hours, 160 in a 4-week period. Thank you, I'm sorry for, so anyway, the normal work period is that way. And given the employee handbook language, I think that everything, will stay the same there. The county engineer, the department head, will be the person in charge of that. And I think the road department employees, the way we've been talking, they're satisfied with everything there. Overtime. There is a discrepancy, or there is a difference in overtime. Overtime, according to the collective bargaining unit, anything over 8 hours a day is considered overtime. Saturdays and Sundays and holidays is time worked on those days is considered overtime. The employee handbook language says 40 hours, anything after 40 hours. It also states that vacation and sick leave, other paid leaves of absences would not be counted towards that 40 hours of overtime. And the road department would like to keep the overtime language the same as what is in the collective bargaining unit, that they would receive overtime for working after 8 hours per day, that they would receive overtime on a Saturday and Sunday if they come in to move snow, if they stay late, if they come early for snow removal. So they would like that to be the status quo. There's also a paragraph in the collective bargaining unit that states that they are called back after working 8 hours, that it's a minimum of time, 1.5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
callback. If you look at that section 3, an employee called back to work after leaving work for the day will be paid a minimum of 1.5 hours for appropriate rate of pay, which I think most of the time when they are called in, for example, we just had one a week ago Saturday. There was a road culvert that showed up a washout. It took 2 hours to deliver the signs. It was up east of Oak Lake, so it took some time. By the time they got the trailer hooked up, got everything taken care of, it was a 2-hour trip. But I think that's a pretty uniform and it's a fair way of guaranteeing that.
Before you go on, so you weren't asking for a difference in the whether or not vacation or holiday time applies to the 40 hours?
We would like to keep it the collective bargaining unit.
I was trying to skim through that while you're talking. I can't do both at once, so what's in the collective bargaining? Which,
Collective bargaining unit, employees are paid at 1.5 times after 8 hours of work
right, so there's no relevance there to
to the 40-hour week.
and or whether a holiday time or vacation time applies to the 40-hour week?
They have to work 8 hours if.
So that's not a difference,
Right, they can't
okay?
They can't come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, move snow till noon, and take 3.5 hours of
Okay.
vacation and receive overtime.
Okay,
So it would be.
I misunderstood that entirely. I thought you were going to, if you were talking about, if you took Monday off for a vacation day and then worked, 34 more hours, well, never mind.
Well, according to the
That would
handbook,
apply.
That would
the
apply.
employee handbook, 40 hours, that would
Right.
apply.
Yeah, okay,
Where the road department with the collective bargaining,
yeah, that's the only way you would get over 40 is if you had worked at over 8 hours in a day, so,
right.
yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
Comp time, the collective bargaining unit language is, secondary road employees, they receive a maximum of 42 hours each fiscal year. And they are only allowed to accumulate 42 hours. After they've accumulated 42 hours, they can choose to take that comp time, or at the end of the fiscal year, the road department pays out any hours that have accumulated at their current rate of pay. So there's an example there, if an employee has accumulated 32 hours of comp time and used 8 hours, the employee is only eligible to accumulate another 10 hours in that fiscal year. And then it talks a little bit about comp time not used will be paid prior to the end of the fiscal year. The employee handbook language, it has non-exempt employees, which the secondary road department is non-exempt. They can accrue comp time at the rate of 1.5 hours for each hour of overtime. The maximum number of hours that the employee may accrue is 60 hours. And there is a note, conservation department, they must have a little bit different accrual, and I'm not aware of what that is. My understanding is that once an employee reaches 60 hours, if they use some comp time for paid leave, they can then, if they work more overtime, they can move back up to 60 hours. My understanding is that 60 hours is carried over at the end of the fiscal year. So that's the way that works. The road department would like to use the handbook language on that. They feel that there is a better opportunity for newer employees. If they are receiving overtime that in June, they're not necessarily paid out. They continue to have that, so they'll be able to use it for a opportunity to take time off, new employees. They feel there's a benefit to that 60 hours.
I'm confused. You said that you feel there's a benefit to that 60 hours?
The road department would like to have
It's
it
a
that
higher
same
threshold.
way as what.
To- In the past, I may be way wrong here, did you have it where you had to have it used up by a certain date too?
Right.
And now you
The-
won't?
The collective bargaining language is that they could accumulate 42 hours. And they either used it or they were compensated for it by the end of June, the end of the
At the end of the
fiscal
fiscal year? Okay, I'm sorry. I
And then
was
they'd
thinking
start in
calendar.
July, they would
Start.
start accumulating
Okay,
comp time for any overtime work.
okay.
Yes.
So basically you're saying you wanna go to the handbook language?
Correct. Holidays and personal day, the collective bargaining language right now, the collective bargaining unit does not receive a personal day. They receive 10 paid holidays, which sometimes are the same as the handbook, sometimes it's not. The employee handbook, the board of supervisors, I believe it's pretty much the first meeting in January, publish holidays. The collective bargaining unit has the 10 holidays, which include New Year's, President's, Martin Luther King, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving Day, the Friday after Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day. In lieu of the Martin Luther King holiday, there was an agreement made between the Board of Supervisors and the collective bargaining unit that Martin Luther King would be a regular 8-hour scheduled working day, and that a floating holiday, the men could take a holiday whenever they would like. That is what that floating holiday is. Couple of things, the handbook, like I said, talks about holidays, they're established that first day. It talks a little bit about whether it falls on a Saturday, it goes to the Friday before. If it falls on a Sunday, it goes to a Monday after. In visiting a little bit with the six here from the secondary road department, the opportunity there are opportunities where during snow removal operations, President's Day, February 12, February 13, whatever it is, there are snow removals, so they get paid their straight 8 hours plus time and a half for overtime. If the board would like to consider having President's Day recognized as a floating holiday, the six supported that. But the idea with the using the holidays as they are made by the Board of Supervisors, they are comfortable with that. And they do believe, at a minimum, Martin Luther King, in January, opportunities for snow removal, that is a very real opportunity, and that the floating holiday, the road department should be allowed a floating holiday for that.
So you wanna recap that for me in one sentence or less?
The Board of Supervisors, for the employee handbook, the Board of Supervisors publish or decide on what the holidays are. And usually there's 10, some years there's 11 holidays, paid holidays. The secondary road department, let's go back. One of those holidays is Martin Luther King holiday. the road department worked straight hours on Martin Luther King, and they received
A floating
a
hour.
floating holiday.
And you want that to continue?
They would like that to continue. I think that is a good thing for both the road department and Kossuth County.
So they wanna use the employee handbook version, but have floating holidays for presidents and MLK.
Correct.
So, I understand there's snow possibilities for those two, but there's also snow possibilities for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
There are. Friday after Thanksgiving, we moved snow this year, correct? Yeah, we got a snowstorm started the Friday after, or did we come in on Saturday?
I think it was Saturday we come in.
We come in Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
Friday I was working.
You were private.
Yeah.
So this Thanksgiving of 2025, we actually worked on Saturday on that. And Christmas there's been days where, in the last couple of years, maybe the last 3, where we worked Christmas Day, Christmas
Yeah,
Eve, and that happens, definitely.
So if you work on the holiday pay plus time and a half,
That is correct.
so it's basically the 2.5 time your rate of pay.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, you're gonna get 8 hours no matter what, cause it's a holiday.
Right.
You're guaranteed your 8 hours. If you would work 4 hours, that 4 hours is gonna be
Right.
that time and a half.
Okay.
Vacation. The collective bargaining language, the secondary road department receives 80 hours of vacation after 1 year of employment, 120 hours after 8 years, and 160 hours after 18 years. And then it has some language very similar to what the handbook is as far as how to use it, if there's sickness, injury, different things like that. The employee handbook has a table, depending on whether you work a 40-hour work week, or jail staff, EMS. So we believe it would just be appropriate to put secondary road department and put in completion of 1 year, 80 hours, completion of 8 years, that would be 120 hours, and completion of 18 years, 160 hours. The completion of 6 months, we do feel there would be some recruiting advantages to get employees. There are always concerns with a newly hired person as far as having some time off for different situations. So adding some hours at the completion of 6 months sounded attractive to our man. Is that a fair way of stating that? We believe that that would help with some recruiting.
I would think comp time being able to roll across a fiscal year would be the same type of
That,
effect.
that would definitely help as well, and that was discussed. And then, collective bargaining, the secondary road department, at a certain time, moves to a 4 10-hour work week. They begin Monday at 6:30 to 5 with a half-hour lunch, and they work Monday through Thursday for those 4 10-hour days. They definitely would like to have that available for them. In fact, I don't know, the 6 right now, I think would have liked to have come in this morning at 6 o'clock and punch out of it, or excuse me, 6:30, punch out at 5 and have their 4 10-hour days start this week. We do. The county engineer and the 6 secondary road employees do not quite have the same opinion there. I know what they think, and I think they know what I think, but I do believe there is a time for that, and when we do that, there is a benefit for Kossuth County, and there's a benefit for the employees. So we would definitely like to have that be part of the policy for the road department. One thing that always happens is July 4th holiday. For example, this year, July 4th is on a Saturday, I believe.
Yes.
If our employees are working 4 10-hour days, the question comes up, when would they observe the July 4th holiday? According to the handbook, it would be the Friday before.
Correct.
They have Friday off.
They have Friday off, so does it get extended to Thursday? So they get 8-hour holiday included in their week, or do they get paid 8 extra hours on a Friday? And there's been discussion of 10-hour, getting paid for a 10-hour July 4th holiday as one of the 4 10-hour days. Did somebody say there are other neighboring counties do it? Hancock does do that. There seems to be other counties that do that. But it's something that was discussed, and we would like the board to consider that as well with this. And then the last thing we have is a personal day. The employee handbook does offer full-time employees a personal day, paid personal day. The road department has never had a paid personal day, so the road department would like to make sure that they receive that paid personal day and get treated like other full-time employees. I think, did I cover everything, guys?
On boots, were you gonna do anything with this?
That's a little bit different discussion, Dale. With that being said, does the board have any questions of the men or any statements that they want to say or give us direction on how we should handle this? This would begin July 1, and it would move forward from there, and hopefully we would get it right with the first decisions.
So your example of the 4th of July, I assume you're doing the 4/10s by Memorial Day, and it's through Labor Day too?
Typically, Memorial Day, I think the last few years we've started working 4 10-hour days on Memorial Day. Memorial Day would be an 8-hour holiday, and they worked 3 10-hour days, so they got paid for a 38-hour week. Does that seem right? Sure. And we would work through Labor Day, that week of Labor Day, and the very same thing, work 3 10-hour days, and there would be a holiday there, and that would be a 38-hour week. Last year, with 4th of July was a Friday. Does that seem right?
I think so.
I think we observed the holiday on Thursday for the road department, And that was that ended up being a 38-hour week of pay. 4th of July, another thing to keep in mind with the Abate Motorcycle Rally. There's a lot of traffic, and to be honest with you, our road department tries to, whatever work we do, we stay off of pavements. Would that be a fair statement? Whatever work, because we just,
that week.
the day before 4th of July, because there's just a lot of motorcycle traffic. We definitely don't want to be crossing state highways there, which limits the work that can be done.
And just a reminder, they will be paid, secondary road will be paid July 2nd due to our office being closed July 3rd for the holidays, so they will receive their paycheck July 2nd.
Is that an email?
We'll talk about it Thursday.
Okay.
I guess I think there's, just for initial thoughts, I think there's some, obvious things that would be beneficial to both the employees and the employers, or the employer as Kossuth County. I don't know that we should just pick everything that's the best of both worlds, but I think there should be a very easy and fair give and take between the two options, like the comp time, for example. I think that's very easy. I think that's a benefit that could provide a lot of flexibility, especially to new employees. I think stuff like that is, I guess in my opinion, very simple and easy to use the handbook language that's available to generally everybody else. I don't know how detailed or deep we wanna get in conversation right now, but I guess, I think there's some very viable options there.
Yeah, I'm all for consistency, so obviously, I'm not passing over that, I think that's great too, that'd be an improvement, right? Because that's the way you consider that 60 instead of 42, that'd be an improvement or whatever.
Yeah,
You have the
our
quantity
employees,
improvement and the carryover improvement, yep.
our employees feel that.
And plus it moves in the handbook language too. The way it was, you were only allowed 42 and period, if you went.
Per fiscal year.
Right, here, if it goes down, you can build it back up.
If you use it, you can.
If the
build it.
winter's not very hard, it's sometimes hard to get 40 hours even.
Right.
So even to get the 60 may be hard.
But if you can carry it, you'll have more flexibility.
So if you carried 40 over and then it's gonna be the same for everybody, but what happens then if you run into more time, you just have to use it up or get paid out?
Yep.
You would not necessarily be paid out for the comp time until you either resigned or retired.
You'd be paid as overtime
Yeah,
for your
overtime.
extra hours.
But that you would not receive a dollar compensation for that until you left employment.
Yep.
Which is different from what it is right now, that if you had that comp time at the end of the fiscal year, you would get that paid out.
Yep.
Correct.
That's how it is right now,
Yes.
so that would be the difference.
And it's a hard line versus a choice too. Yeah.
So what's your passion on the vacation? I like consistency, and the best example I can give for that, the deputies, they wanted different health insurance plan than everybody else, or that came up and we said we didn't like that, so you're advocating for 80 hours after 1 year, or that's what it's been, is that correct?
That's what it has been, yeah.
Is that a, I gotta watch my choice of words, is that a big deal, or is that
Carbon stands.
hard stance, yeah, thank you for that. For versus what everybody else is doing,
Well, I guess the thing about that is that there are three different vacation schedules, depending on that, there's a
yeah, I see that.
40-hour week,
Yeah.
there's jail staff, there's EMS. If I were to ask, our men would probably like to be on the jail staff, can they be included in the jail staff for vacation? But they aren't, they're just asking to remain the same. And if
Yeah.
anything, maybe to receive, after 6 months, receive some of their vacation. I mean, more or less what is happening with any employee is every month you are accumulating vacation. You really just don't receive it until your 6-month anniversary or your year anniversary. Again, if a person comes to work for Kossuth County and works 6 months and decides to leave employment, they've earned some vacation, and they would be compensated for that vacation hours, dollar-wise, so.
In that scenario, if someone worked for 6 months, based on our current handbook, they wouldn't be paid out anything, cause they haven't actually received it though, right?
They have earned it. They would,
But they haven't actually received it, right? So they would, if,
they don't receive it until 6-month
months.
anniversary or 1-year anniversary, but they earned vacation.
And they can't use it until.
They just cannot use it until after 6 months or after
Yeah.
1 year.
But if they would
They
leave,
have
we
earned
would
it.
prorate it,
Right.
we prorate
And
but
vacation.
if they left at 5.5 months, they wouldn't have any, right?
Yeah, they'd have 5 months of earned vacation that they would be compensated.
Yeah, we would prorate it.
Yes, that's an employee benefit. So,
Are we deciding this today, or?
no, we do
You need
not
to know by
expect,
July 1.
but I think I want the discussion, and if you have
I do
questions-
have one question.
Sure.
Are you guys somewhat representative of, were you elected, were you appointed, were you
My
you
choice.
picked them? Well, you're all
And the
dogs
road
best
foreman.
friends. When's the
road
party,
foreman, too.
when's the beer fest, anyhow?
We,
I assume it's
we
supposed to
can't
be somewhat
confirm or deny.
representative.
We're not gonna get to anything.
Okay,
But no, I wanted a representation of new employees, middle of the road for longevity and people that have been here a long time. So we got 3 people, from, what we call the north, and 3 people from the south. I think these guys represent the secondary road department as far as employees are. And we've had two meetings where we discussed kind of what we just went through here today to get, so that the employees know the differences. And then we had another half an hour that we talked, trying to, come up with solutions. And that's kind of what, when we talk, for example, with vacation, with another column there, that was a solution for vacation.
Well, I guess for the sake of discussion, I'll step out on a limb and extend what I had said before. So like when we look at overtime, that was one of the first things we discussed, the significant difference there. I guess I would kind of echo what Howard said. I think the consistency aspect of keeping things similar would be an advantage, but on, not to change gears too much, but then to the earning vacation, I can see where adding that into the chart would also make sense. But I guess I think we could probably have a compromise as far as some of the best items that work for everybody, but I guess I don't know if I'd be entirely comfortable, and I'm still processing through it and open to discussion, but I'd like to maybe see a little bit of a compromise of picking the most important things that you wanna keep from previous language and maybe compromise on some of the other ones. I don't know if anyone else on the board has a thought there, but I guess the floating holidays, if we're gonna have a holiday at a point in time, I don't know that it really hurts anything to make it a floating versus a rigid holiday. I think there's probably benefits both ways for that. Vacation I touched on before, I mean, I do agree, I think consistency is valuable, but also we've got a couple schedules there anyway, so extending the chart wouldn't hurt my feelings tremendously. Not opposed to a threshold of 6 months to line up with our other schedules that we have in place. As far as the 4 10-hour work days, I think there is value to that. One thing that maybe could have been discussed previously or years ago, but has there been any discussion or consideration about staggering who works each day so that you have 5 days covered, but people are working 10-hour shifts? I mean, you have to do everything from office staff to foremen to operators, but has there been any discussion?
Office staff works whatever contractors during the summer work. We are here on Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
We
I
do
guess that's
not,
true.
we do not participate in the 4
You
10-hour
don't, yeah,
days.
office is
The
outside of
4 10-hour days
That's right.
is secondary road department only. Or operators, road foremen, mechanics,
Yeah.
like that,
So when you guys go to the 4 10-hour days, is everybody Monday through Thursday then?
they are.
There's no discussion on, having it staggered, so some people are Monday through Thursday, other people are on Tuesday through Friday.
I'm not
At least-
aware of any discussion, Matt, Dale, have you guys ever?
Never gonna have a crew.
And I'll also say that I don't remember a situation where a Friday work was warranted. They get their they work for 4 10-hour days, 40 hours in their week, whether it's Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. Most of the time, all 6 of these gentlemen here, they have their own road territory. And if Matt works on his road territory between Monday and Thursday, it would be the same as Tyler working on his road territory Tuesday through Friday. There's really 40 hours is 40 hours in a week.
The only time that'd be different is if we get a significant storm on a Thursday night, then
That
other
would be-
people get called in
that would
on a
be-
Friday, then that'd be overtime.
And the same thing, if it happens on a Friday night, and we get called in on a Saturday, which, were you here when Algona had? This was 1990 or so, there was a Saturday where we came in and helped the city of Algona, clear streets after a thunderstorm. Sway City a few years ago, was that a weekend event?
That was during the week.
That was during the week?
That was during the week, but that was probably in 19 or
So-
20, I bet.
I mean, yeah, thunderstorms happen. Sometimes they happen during the work week, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Same thing with snowstorms. If we could predict if we could only have snow between the hours of
Business days.
4 in the morning and
Monday.
noon, these guys would all sleep pretty well during the winter.
Yeah, I guess the other piece of that of making July 4th a 10-hour holiday or carrying it forward, I'm not sure what to do on that.
What,
Well, it sounds like the other ones, you guys are pretty comfortable with doing 3 10-hour days and then getting the fourth day as an 8-hour holiday and then just having 38 hours that week.
Yeah,
I
and
think that could stay the same for that July.
there's been time, did you just ask about 48?
Didn't we used to get 48?
There's been times, I think last year during our safety meeting, we decided to kind of use the 38, visiting, but there have been times where, July 4th on a Saturday, observed on a Friday, work 4 10-hour days and get 8-hour pay, 48
That's one
hours.
of our holidays.
Correct, it's a paid holiday. So,
so what do you want? Would you rather that was a 3-day work week with 8 hours of vacation, or do you want 4-day work week with 8 hours of vacation?
that's kind of, last year we visited and kind of the consensus.
Yeah, I
of the road
remember that, yeah.
We decided, it depends on, I mean, some people, they like to have a little bit longer weekend, observe it on a Thursday, so, yeah. I think it depends, but I could be
Extra paycheck
wrong.
though, if you get the extra 8
Or
hours.
another floating holiday. Yeah.
Well, and that kinda gets, then you get down to the rabbit hole, why not make them all floating holidays?
Right. Well, it's only the 1 year that's gonna happen like this year.
But this does, you do start the 4/10s before Memorial Day usually, or not?
There have been times where we have, there's been times where we started them Memorial Day. Some of the, with this spring, Howard, I would assume that, the way our gravel roads are starting to shape up, we'll have everything, they will be, they will not be in a situation where if we neglect them over a 3-day weekend, that they would need a lot of work. So I would say we would probably start 4 10-hour days prior to Memorial Day.
And then, does it usually go past Labor Day too?
It has, the last few years, we've extended it, going, including the week of Labor Day.
So I'll ask,
So going through 3 10-hour days on that week after Labor Day.
again, you voted, you don't want us to make it, you guys voted on it last year, what you wanted?
I brought it up at the safety meeting and I tried to,
Anyway, I
listen to
know,
what the employees said, and, I don't know if anyone arm wrestled or anything. to
well, there was
make a
one
decision.
person that said,
You know,
he got
it's-
looked at real hard.
Right.
As I
You know,
recall.
after discussion, we had some discussion, and that's the way it was decided,
Open your mouth again and we'll all jump on you.
so. But that's the way I remember it,
And if you
And-
say anything against the way he remembers it,
no,
okay.
I don't think anybody felt it was a wrong decision. There might have been some people that would have preferred to, work the 4 10-hour days, but the one thing that's gotta be done is the road department has to be consistent there, that if we're either gonna have the holiday this day, or we're not, we're gonna have the holiday that.
That was my question, so do you wanna have a policy, or do you wanna leave it up to your
I think the biggest question would be, whether or not July 4th would be a 10-hour compensation or an 8-hour. Then, from there, for example, this we're gonna have a safety meeting next Friday. We'll discuss it a little bit and make a determination of whether we should have a 38-hour work week or whether we should have a 38-hour work week or have a 40-hour work week with a 8-hour holiday observed on Friday.
Then you'd have
48,
48, yeah, 40-hour work week with an 8-hour holiday. So you'd be paid for 48 hours.
Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No. Any other questions of the guys while they're here?
Any other thoughts you guys have for us?
Everything that was proposed was for, you know, to make the job more appealing.
Yeah,
You know, it's, we're still working 40 hours, you know, we're still putting in work time, and we still wanna get the job done, we still wanna do a good job. You know.
do you ever get to the point where it's dry as, it's summer, it's dry as heck, we were washboard city out there, it rains on Wednesday or Thursday, do you ever get to the point where I'd love to come in on Friday and run my maintainer, or no?
We probably have, I don't, each one of you guys wanna answer that? I bet you we'd have at least 2 people that would say, yes, we should do that. But the problem is, if they're working 4 10-hour days, you get that rain on a Wednesday. If we
do it on
do.
Monday.
Hopefully it's still out.
And we do have tools for that, you know, we have the picks, we have, you know, tools to shake it loose and.
Okay. Tell me one more time, it's like I'm not listening, but where do you want the holidays to end up? Which ones do you want to be floating?
We definitely want
MLK,
Martin Luther King,
Yep.
which is in January. We'd like to keep the status quo there. And if the board sees a benefit to President's Day, which is in February, having the employees work on that and giving another floating holiday, I think that would be supported by the employees.
were the
Am I
two.
wrong in that?
This may have been already brought up, but is there stipulation that they have to use that within the fiscal year?
Yes.
Floating, okay, just as long as that stays.
No,
Does
they
it
have to be
fiscal or calendar year?
fiscal.
Has to
But-
maintain that budget year.
We do struggle with that one, I'll be honest, cause the engineer's office manager, if somebody begins in, say they were starting yesterday, April 12th, that'd be right? April 13th, excuse me. They would not receive Martin Luther King holiday. They did not work on Martin Luther King holiday,
They
so
weren't
they do not
they
get
weren't employed
a floating holiday.
right, for that.
Now, we got a person that worked Martin Luther King holiday, and then they get into the new fiscal year, they get a floating holiday right away. If they take the floating holiday right away and they retire in November, they don't end up working it. Maybe I shouldn't tell you guys that. But
You're giving away all the
you,
secrets.
That,
so.
can't worry about every little thing.
Right. But I
So
know.
you can move the floating holiday ahead too.
You get a floating holiday at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Right, or 2. And you-
So July 1, if you wanna take a floating holiday through the July 4th weekend, you would be able to use that. Am I speaking wrong?
I think you're right.
Double A?
Okay.
All right, Well, thank you for the consideration, and we'll continue to visit about it and go from there. Anything else, guys?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good,
Thanks, Howard.
Yep, thank you.
Hey.
Well, how are you, Tammy?
I'm doing good. It's been a long time.
I'm not hugging you guys.
Yeah.
We used to be
We
neighbors.
didn't wanna smell you that close.
They used to live across the street from us when our kids were growing up.
Okay, discussion with the county auditor.
Okay, like Doug said earlier, tomorrow FEMA meeting in Palo Alto County for anybody who's registered. Carmen did send out an email that if you haven't RSVP'd, you can still do so. 10 to noon, over in Palo Alto County. 9 o'clock on Thursday, we have a department head meeting here in this room. Next week's agenda at 8:30, we have the budget public hearing for fiscal year 26-27. At 10 o'clock, we have the bid consideration for Ducks Unlimited DD4 Lat 11. We also have handwritten claim, and then our regular stuff. Let's see if there's anything else. Then just the regular budget stuff that we have. I did receive an email from Ben Crone from the Fair Board. They're asking us to fill out a pledge form for the grandstand renovation project. For the $250,000 that we have committed. I'm wondering, on here it says total amount, balance payable over how many years. Do you want this on the agenda to be approved? I know you've approved the amount, but do you want this form actually to be on the agenda to be approved and signed, or how do you wanna do this?
Cause did we ever make a motion for the additional?
I don't know if there was a motion or if it was just, because what I think I remember is when you approve the budget, then you approve all those amounts. I don't remember a motion directly, but I'm not 100% sure.
My gut's telling me we did make a motion to have something on the record, but I didn't.
And I can,
What amount are you talking about there? I mean,
When we were having the conversation about TIF for additional money for roads and additional money for the grandstand.
and I can go back and look and see what I can find if there was an official motion made for that.
I don't remember for
I don't
sure.
think there was.
I don't believe so.
Okay. And that could be, I'm not.
I remember we
100% sure.
discussed a dollar amount
Mhm.
for what we were gonna do for TIP. And I remember we told Doug 4 million, but we never set an actual amount to the fair. So that was never actually
And,
voted on.
and that whole, I mean, kinda side note, but that whole process will need to be rolling at some point, or we're gonna get to the end of the year and be in scramble mode, and
Yeah.
the purpose of discussing it earlier was to not be in scramble mode.
Yeah, I need to touch base with her again. I've sent her a couple of emails and I haven't heard anything back, so.
Who, Heidi,
No,
or
is it Maria?
she would on the solar ordinance.
I can't remember who I reached out to. I'll have to look again, but.
Okay, I can talk to you afterwards on that too,
Okay.
I wanna say it was. Be able to pull up his name.
So you want this on the agenda then, or what?
John, Danos and Amy,
Amy, it must have been
Sure.
Amy that
I
I
think.
reached out to.
yeah, that could be,
Well, the 250, which we've already paid 50 of, correct?
I'd have to,
That was voted on, because that was a previous pledge that we had made. The TIF stuff that we discussed was an additional, I believe, what did we say, 500,000?
Well, it
To
was,
make it
it
750
was gonna,
total.
yeah, but it was gonna be putting all of it out of TIF for a total of 700 versus using the general fund for 50 of it each year. So that was two changes rolled into one.
We could do that, we can,
Cause
it's
we
in
have
the agreement,
up
yeah.
to $1 million limit in the TIF documents. In the plan.
I don't, and I certainly could be wrong, cause I don't remember a lot of things, but I don't remember, you know, discussing amounts and approving amounts.
Yeah, I don't.
Beyond the 200, but the question at hand is this pledge form. We don't really, first off, I don't understand why they need one, but
I think they want it so that way they can show other investors.
grants and
other
stuff.
They probably have to
grants.
approve for the
Yep.
And
grants.
for the,
other than our minutes, they could show that
but if we
too.
don't have a motion, it won't be in the minutes.
But we did have a
We
motion
did
for
have a
this.
motion for
For
the
the-
250.
We would've for the 250
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
But we can fill it,
I would say it'd just be cleaner, put it on the agenda and we can, deal with it next week,
I will be here next week.
okay? Is there any timeline to
Well,
put it on a couple weeks?
there's no debate here, we've already approved it.
The 250 for sure we
Yeah.
would have, but if we incorporate any of the additional funds that we talked about,
We can have them do a new pledge form for the new total.
yeah, we could do
At
that
another
too.
time, right?
We could, yep.
Or you wanna do it now? Yeah, I'm confused on what they're looking for. The way you explained it, I thought they were just looking for the pledge form for the 250 or the 200 that's left.
They're looking for a total amount of pledge, balance payable on, or balance payable over how many years, beginning date, and payment schedule.
So it's not just the 250. Okay,
It'd be anything.
I misunderstood that, I'm sorry.
That's it.
I'm sure we could update it if we wanted to later on, but,
Well, it can't go down, that's not much of a pledge.
I was gonna say,
The
I don't
thing-
know if it's a hard
The
binding.
thing I would argue is let's get the correct amount on there to start with, because that's going to help them with the other grants and other investors that see that, okay, you know, Kossuth County's putting this much towards it, you know, we can put more towards it too. If we give the pledge of 250, well, that may, you know, sway some other decisions on grants or pledges from other people, but if we can do one pledge form with our, you know, final
Totally.
amount, I think that'll help them a lot more than trying to do separate pledges.
So, I don't know, this thing you handed out last week with the repowering the wind farm, will that affect anything as far as the TIF money, or is that a different wind farm?
Those are not in the
The
TIF at all.
They're not.
They were built.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Okay, but that answers my question,
before 2010 off the top of my head.
so we're feeling more comfortable with than we were a year ago about the TIF. I know the TIF money is coming in and we feel there's nothing legislatively in Des Moines or anything that's gonna change that we're aware of.
Not to my knowledge at this point in time, that's a big caveat, but
Yeah, anything
currently-
can happen at any time, but yeah, I'm not aware of anything.
So if we pledged a lot more money up front and that didn't come through, that would be a real problem?
So even, I guess my principle on looking at how much we borrowed was with the intent of keeping it to what our income within a
Right.
couple years was
Yeah.
supposed to be, that way, worst case scenario, if something did change and we had to stretch that out, we had time to still make it work, so to speak, especially on the front end. But like when everything gets ramped up to full values and full rates, our estimate was over $3 million a year that was coming in. So, I mean, even with what we're discussing right now, you're looking at 2 years of full value. I think with the step up, we're probably looking at 3, maybe 4, but even if you've got, that time frame on the front end, let's say there was something that affected it and it's reduced by,
50%.
well, I'd say 25 or 30% would have everybody across the state screaming probably.
Yep.
But let's say it was reduced by 30%, you're still gonna probably have significant dollars to cover it, you just might have to wait a little longer.
Might be another year or 2 down the road before that's covered.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think as long as you're cautious and conservative on the front end of the total you're borrowing, there's plenty of time for flexibility yet.
But we still can't spend more than we budgeted, so.
No, correct. We can't spend more than what's budgeted or than what's in the urban renewal plan or all of those factors, we still have to follow all of that. And we have to incur the debt before we can receive the tax dollars, so like.
And if we move forward on that?
No, that's what I mentioned before, that process needs to get started
Yeah,
before
and
we
I've-
forget about it.
And I did talk to her about it, and then I never heard anything back, and then I emailed her again, and I have not heard
Okay.
anything back, so.
So, yeah, I guess. I don't know what everybody else's schedules are, if we wanna push it off for more than next week, but I guess.
I'll be back to following, so that's
We put it on in 2 weeks,
20.
or do we wanna just get it done?
Up to you.
I mean, we don't have it for a decision, formal decision today, but we could go off of previous decisions if there's motions, but then we might have to update the form, so.
I'll put it on its way. I'll get the minutes and stuff, what we've already done, so.
Is there, I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse or whatever, but I know you're gonna be gone, and I'm not trying to make the decision, I don't wanna, hopefully, it's not, I don't wanna make the decision without you, but can we put on the agenda for both weeks, just to discuss it?
Like discuss it next week and
Yeah,
take action.
take action the following week, and
Yep.
at least everybody's thinking about it, you know, you're gonna be thinking about it now, but.
Have a fresh reminder next week.
Well, plus have Amber and Carter hopefully.
Yep.
Well, if that dirties up the agenda too much, or,
Yeah, that's fine.
No, if we felt like our agenda was busy or whatever, we could always talk about it for 2 minutes and move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Or skip it and come back at the end of the meeting or something.
it wouldn't be my intent to make a decision next week, Josh, but I suppose anything could happen, but.
Well, if you just put it on for discussion, you can't make a
Yeah,
decision.
there you go. Alright, anything else, Tammy?
No, I believe that's everything.
Josh? You have any discussion and or committee reports?
I had meetings last week, I was not able to make it, I'm working on getting minutes for it though. It would have been the North Central Emergency Response Commission and the Transportation Policy Board, they call it, so I'll get minutes on that and
Okay.
I don't think anything that hasn't been discussed besides we had a CHADC executive committee talk about the 2080 some more. Based on our conversations at our last full board meeting, there was quite a bit discussed as to be expected, but the request from the full commission was to have the executive committee kind of review all the things that were discussed and come back with, say, 2 or 3 options that were our recommendations, and that the full committee can kind of choose from that, and hopefully we narrow down our conversation a little more this time, but we'll likely be discussing that again towards the end of this month, so 4th Friday as usual, which would be the 24th, I believe.
Did that stuff with that your former director, with all his requests, what, did that, anything shake out of that for sure?
So I did see Todd had responded that he was willing to help if needed. He did say that, it might be more efficient to have Allers and Cooney handle that, so I touched base with Mike Galloway, tried to call him on Friday, but he called me back on Saturday, I think it was. And I talked to him briefly, I said I'd get him sent the actual email and some of the, the stuff that Tony was requesting. I did explain the list of people that he had requested. His kind of question to me was even a ballpark number of emails and stuff that we're dealing with. He was like, if it's 5 emails or 500, then they could produce an estimate. And he said they can help walk us through all that, but he's fine either way. If we want them to help with it, they can and will, otherwise Todd could. But I do think it would probably make more sense to have Mike deal with it or his team, because they were involved in all of the confidential personnel matters that would have been discussed, and potentially have connected documents being transmitted through email in that time period, so. Yeah, that'll be work in progress, but yeah, that was a discussion as well.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I had the 3rd Judicial District Advisory Board meeting in Sioux City. I did go, they had some numbers that I have here in an email if you're interested, as far as how much, activity they were involved with in Kossuth County compared to other counties. It was pretty linear based on population. I guess I would have thought maybe we were less, but if you combined Emmett and Palo Alto and compared them to us, it was almost identical. And if you multiplied us times, whatever, 10, then you got to what Woodbury was. And I didn't look up the population of Woodbury, I just assumed that maybe 150,000, was close. I don't know, but there was no big surprises, I guess, and no big deviances.
Okay.
So, but I can show it to you or forward it to you either one. Maybe I'll just forward it. Everybody has it. You can just look at it at your leisure.
As of July 1st, 2024, the estimated population of Woodbury is 107.
Okay, so
maybe slight deviation, but probably not crazy.
Yeah. Doug's mentioned there's a FEMA meeting tomorrow in Palo Alto County. Are you planning on going? Or I'll go if.
I'm hoping to, yeah.
Okay, well,
Janine, or Heather and I are going.
okay.
Yeah.
Is that overkill then if more people go, or what's your opinion?
I wouldn't say that.
She sent a good checklist and a good, I don't know, outline of information, that I think will be good information to have when we're processing FEMA funds, or even turning things into FEMA. I think they're trying to streamline that process, and so the more people that understand that process, the better, I think.
Yeah, and I would say the colossal disaster of paperwork that was the 2019 disaster is the reason that this is being talked about across the state right now. We are not the only ones that had issues with paperwork or site inspections or any of that stuff back then. Part of it, a contributing factor, was the fact that there was a disaster in 18 that was substantial across the state before that, so there were other things happening in the country obviously, but Iowa specifically had back-to-back disasters, which probably rarely happens here, so, from a. Wow.
I didn't hear you.
So he just jinxed
Yeah,
us.
knock on wood. But there was a lot of contributing factors to how difficult and challenging that stuff was, but at the end of the day, the reason that this is such a wide scope and a wide conversation is because others were very much in the same boat as us, so I think
Yeah.
every effort that can be made to streamline information and communication on the front end and extra knowledge and all that is definitely valuable. Cause it is a very complex process, there's no doubt about that in my mind.
Okay. Tomorrow night, there's a meeting in Mason City for Iowa State Extension for wind, solar, and I don't know,
Renewables.
for battery storage, yeah. I don't know if, I'm undecided, I suppose it's time to decide. Sounds like it probably isn't gonna hurt to go, I guess, so, we'll see. That's all I have. Anybody got anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Kyle, second by Josh. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Guess we're adjourned. Today is